This is the Winning Plays Podcast on the CLNS Media Network, the leading online provider for the NBA's winningest franchise.
New edition of the Winning Plays Podcast is here. Chris Forsberg of NBC Sports Boston is here, and Joe Mazzulla is officially your night. It feels weird talking about this, Chris, because he's like, oh yeah, they made him head coach. I'm like, well, I did that a while ago, and everyone assumed this was going to happen. I guess the surprise about this is him being, promoted to the officially head coach midway through the season. I guess that is a story from a timing standpoint. So your
unique timing. Yeah. So it was funny because like everyone in my office yesterday was like, oh, not really surprised. We all knew this was going to happen eventually. And that's absolutely true. The timing is a little unique. You come off this first half of the season and he's going to All-Star, and I couldn't quite figure it out. Was it just that, they just weren't going to wait around anymore, that they just wanted that resolution? And ultimately what I think it comes back to is we know how Brad Stevens operates, right? Like he hates when things linger over his players, when they linger over his coaches. And so part of the reason Brad has always wanted to lock players up to deals is they're not worrying about their next contract. So when he takes over, extends Marcus, extends Robb, extends Josh Richardson, extends Al this year. Brad's whole thing is like clear minds, and he wants to have everybody just focused on the singular goal. And I think, you go into the trade deadline and you're getting, your mind's thinking about all that. And I think he just got to this point. He's like, what else can I do to take one more thing off everybody's plate? And so I don't think there was any other reason, or there's no other reason to rush it. I mean, they could have waited till June 30th. And the only other thing I can think of is that like Joe has to go to All-Star this weekend, and he's going to be peppered with questions about like his status. And like, even though Joe doesn't care about it, having to answer those questions could dredge up some, unnecessary turmoil. And now instead of the focus being like, hey, why are you interim? And like, what's going on with Ime? Now it's, hey, how cool is it? You're officially the head coach. How do you feel about that?
100%. And seeing that the Celtics already posted questions of Joe doing interviews on Thursday night.
Right.
From Gauss. So like that explains the timing 100%, I think, in part there. And it's part of you wonders, do they wait to the postseason to kind of see how it goes? But then at that standpoint, it's like, well, what's really even like an ugly first round loss, which seems so unlikely? Like, would that really be his death note at this point? Probably not. Like, we won't know now, obviously, but like,
unless it's his fault somehow, like unless he like multiple games where he was slow with a timeout or didn't do something, which you just don't expect. Yeah, I mean, there's still certainly room for growth, but yeah, like I keep thinking the same thing. Like, what would Trenny on early edition was like, this is way too premature. Because I've said repeatedly that we judge coaches on the postseason, which is true, but nothing he does is going to take away from what he's already accomplished in terms of just keeping the wheels on this thing at the start of the year. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, I just think it's, and honestly, if it does go bad, what's the harm? You can still replace him.
It's true.
It's just more Wick's. I'm not spending Wick. I mean, it's not my money. It's Wick's money. So like, if they feel comfortable, then, and if they feel like this is just puts them in an even better position to trudge forward, then so be it. I don't think we're going to even have to cross that bridge. But that's the way coaching works.
Right. Yeah, I don't think the negotiation on the extension was probably too hard hitting at this point from a dollars and cents standpoint from the Mazzulla side. But yeah, it is. I think more than anything else, what this tells me beyond the points that you made as well is just like the players are fully bought into Joe, and that's what I think it boils down to more than anything else. And it's like I think they were to begin with, but there was a lot of the, like guys like Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown at Media Day were saying like, probably holding out hope that Ime would be coming back, or just feeling a little bit attacked or uneasy about like this whole situation of being like, why is this guy we love, cast aside without us really knowing what the heck's going on here? But now you have the best team in the league through 60 games. The buy-in across this locker room is as good as ever. People from Blake Griffin to Brogdon to Mike Muscala are raving about the locker room stuff. And so when you put all that together, it's a situation where, we're gonna count on not disastrous things happening. And if this in any way helps Joe from a confidence standpoint and takes some, lets him cut loose a little bit more, which I think is a good thing for him. I think all that stuff thrown together, made like, all right, this is the time we should just like take care of this now.
Now he's further emboldened to hit us with one-word answers after post-game press conferences and be angry after loss.
Very appreciative on his conference call last night.
Right.
The media. Very appreciative of us.
We joked about it on our programs yesterday. Like we obsess about little things, timeout calls and, like the gum chewing and his short answers after losses when he can be a little bit irritated and doesn't always handle those questions perfectly. But like, I don't know, like I get it. He seems super competitive. I think there's just an aspect to it. We see it when the pickup games, we've seen those clips of him like going all out, knocking down the other assistant coaches, contesting threes and stuff like that. So dude wants to win. And, sometimes that irritates him. I think I keep saying it's very Belichick-like when he gets to that podium. But in the grand scheme of things, like as much as we obsess about the minutia, when you step back and it's like, just think about how we felt on media day. It felt like, man, this thing is being held together with duct tape. The players are pissed about the Ime situation. Here comes Joe, and like, how is that going to go? And they didn't really miss a beat, and they won 1 billion games at the start of the year. And Joe made it an emphasis to start strong, knowing how important that would be, and did it without Robb out there and no Danilo, and then all the other injuries that have cropped up along the way. So, long story short, credit to Joe. I do think, this is coaching in a nutshell. We focus on the bad more than the good. And he's certainly earned this extension. And just like you said, I don't know if it'll change his demeanor. I kind of hope he like shows up and takes the parking spot and clear, give me. He's got the office already, so I don't know like what else he could do. But he should feel a little bit more comfortable to like, okay, I don't think he was ever looking over his shoulder or like worried about it. But I guess it's only natural when you're not firmly entrenched, and now there's there's nothing, no little cloud hovering anymore.
Yeah, and by all accounts, I mean, it probably will change something about him. Like he works his butt off in terms of he knows his numbers, he knows his stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I guess it just takes away the possibility that anything was hanging over his head, which may not have been the case to begin with, but you don't know. Sometimes you don't realize that until it's gone with a situation like that when you're in it.
The other thing I was going to say is like, not that I expect any real coaching changes in the league over the next 2 months. But once you get to the regular season, teams are going to start firing coaches, and Ime's name's going to invariably come back up. And so and that would be the worst possible time for the Celtics. You're preparing for the first round against the Nets again or something like that. And now that's a topic of conversation again. So I don't know. I just think, again, Brad wants to eliminate distractions. To me, that's sort of what it comes down to. And he wants to put the focus on this. How would you grade Joe on the season? Again, we can quibble about. I would love to go back in the Mass Live archives and how many times because you've been on both ends. You praised him when he's made press the right buttons, which I think he's done a lot. But he's also had moments where fairly we've wondered if his timeout usage is the best strategy. Where do you land on Joe Mazzulla's grade overall for the first 59 games of his Celtics tenure?
I think I go B+, A-.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm being generous at all there. I think there are a couple clear-cut instances, game situations where he was slow on the trigger, whether it was the end of that Milwaukee game or that game in Miami. But big picture-wise, top 5 in offense, top 5 in defense, pretty good development, across the board in terms of the young guys, stepping up and filling a role when they need to, and getting the full buy-in of the Blake Griffins of the world. And then the only other quibble you really can take with him is, and we won't really have a full answer to this until the end of the postseason, is just the minutes load. Is it going to matter or not for some of these guys? And they're already taking some steps to address that stuff with the Rob Williams bench gate and other. Can
we get into that? So, but I'll go quick. I agree. I think it was funny. We did a segment on Post Game Live, and Eddie House threw it at Tom Giles, and Giles said B+, A-. And Eddie got really mad because he's like, pick one. It's an A-. Don't even think about B+. And I'm with him. Again, he's been really good. They have the best record in basketball. There's a reason he's going to coach at All-Star. And considering all the turmoil that was around the team, what this staff and Joe together have been able to do is remarkable. What the hell was up with Robb that night? I'll give you my conspiracy theory, and let's see if you agree. I think they've been giving Robb the first night back-to-backs off. that was probably the plan going up to Milwaukee. They probably planned to have 0 starters available, or maybe they thought Al would play, and maybe I don't even know if they put Al out there alone, but let's say that that was their plan. And then Al has the swelling. They downgrade him to out. Now I think they have to be like, okay, Rob, we weren't going to play you, but can you give us a little bit, and we're going to pace you because we might need you on the second night of a back-to-back. But then Al comes back, and so they just rest him off completely. But it came off unseemly because he didn't play a lot of minutes. Didn't look great either. But, in that game, you would have thought, especially late, that they could have used him a little bit more.
Yeah, I 100% think that. I mean, he played 32 minutes against Memphis on Sunday.
Right.
And when you're throwing in the game anyway, it's like, yeah, we don't want Giannis to beat up Robb in this game if he's not 100%. So I think it was as simple as like, yeah, this is like a minutes management type game. Like he was allowed to play probably 50 minutes. Like maybe we'll play him on the back-to-back. We probably won't, but we want to have that option open. Even though you're playing Detroit, like there should be no situation where you're considering playing. If you're gonna try him out in a back-to-back, try him out in a back-to-back that like you need him for. But yeah, I think you nailed it in terms of that. And Joe obviously in the moment didn't really want to, admit to that, or felt like, he wants to protect his players a little bit, to a high degree. But that's I think it's more just a unique circumstance. I don't expect Robb Williams to be coming off the bench anymore.
And I wish you would have. And again, coaches are at no order to tell us truthfully like what's going on. But I think it would have helped clear up if he had just come out and said, look, we were down a lot of guys. We had to manage minutes. Rob has played a lot. He doesn't typically play the first night of back-to-backs. The fact that he had kind of went one-word answer on all that stuff and didn't help clarify probably made the matter bigger than it needed to be.
Okay, so that is there's a lot of fun, interesting stuff from that game, and that was one of them. We haven't talked since the trade deadline.
Ooh.
What are your Muskie thoughts? What do we think's a pretty hot start for Muskie?
I could not have known the Muskie experience would be this delightful. You knew me when we were talking before the deadline. I was very high on, I thought they should go after a Kelly Olynyk type who could, play with every big and stretch the floor and do all those things. And I think you were on my pod when I said Ryan Bernardoni on this podcast had or tweet had the great line, dollar store Kelly Olynyk. And he really has, maybe even better than dollar store Kelly Olynyk.
I don't know, last week.
Right? He shot the three really well. He shot it with confidence, 8 shots his first game out there. And just doesn't show any hesitation, has held up pretty well defensively. They were targeting him. What game was that? Ja was going at him against Memphis, I think it was.
Yeah.
That, they were definitely seeking him out. And that was the first time I said, ooh, that feels like a little bit of a playoff moment where and I don't know if he's going to play in the playoffs, but if they target him like that, then it's going to be tough. But yeah, and then he shows up the other night and rocks the denim jacket and the 7-inch platform shoes, and I can't get enough of the Mike Muscala and the Super Mario tattoo. I didn't know he's got Tanuki Mario on his left shoulder or whatever from Super Mario 3, I think it is when he flies. So I am fascinated by this experience, and yet again, the Celtics identify a player that the analytics love, that that makes good things typically happen when he's on the court. And much like Derek White has now blossomed, and I think not like Derek White hadn't blossomed before this, but just it's been accentuated by the absences around him. Brad hits again with a low budget addition, and no matter how you feel about the deal, Justin Jackson wasn't going to be playing these minutes, and Brad continues to find ways to beef up the roster without necessarily having to splurge a whole lot in this instance.
Yeah, it is. When you look at the price tags of some guys that were moved at the deadline, the number of second-round picks, and I honestly thought that OKC would be we'll just keep him. He's cheap. He's he was on 1 or 2 of my list, but I didn't spend much time on him because I didn't think that, he's making $3 million a year.
Same.
Why would you move him?
And they started playing better.
Right, they play better for him. Right.
So, why would you move that dude? But I guess they just figured it's still better.
They're going to have Chet next year, I guess, so they're going to be all right, we might as well just get a second-round pick or two for him now. But it's we're already at. Do you want to make a guess at how many 3-point attempts per 36 we're at right now? Per 36.
Per 36. Let's go. I would go high because he had 8 that first game. It's got to be like 10.
10.9.
Wow, that's outrageous.
10.9. Already essentially almost third on the team in field goal attempts per 36 at 14.7, but widely like lapping Sam Hauser, who previously led the threes per 36 with 9.3, and Muscala said, psh. And so that to me is like, I don't think he's going to play a lot in the playoffs, but he is a great option to have if, depending on how teams are defending against the Bucks of the road, and if you have a Derek White hesitating to take threes, or Grant Williams saying, okay, guess what, guys? Muscala's out there, and guess what? He's going to get him up. It's like he's going to like he is not going to hesitate, like where he's not going to think, and this is going to be on again. We'll see how Joe Mazzulla gets tested here. Of like, if he has it, it's great. If he doesn't have it in a game, you're probably going to have to get him off quick because he'll probably take 5 threes in like 4 minutes, and and we saw. The poor guy played 43 minutes. He had nothing in his legs in the fourth quarter and overtime in that game. So I have no idea why they played him so much.
Someone said that was the longest he's ever played in a game, right? Like,
yeah,
I think
easily by 7 minutes. It's like
I love it.
Holy hell! But
I knew he hadn't played a lot in Oklahoma City. That he topped out at 24 minutes or something like that. But you could tell by the start of the third quarter, he was coming up 5 feet short on 3-pointers, and I was like, he's got nothing left in the tank. But credit because he was really good before that. So if you played in the right burst of minutes, it'll be perfectly fine. Do you think they? Of course, we all now. I've toned down my obsession with adding another buyout guy, but especially as you hear Kevin Love come available now. Would you? Is there anyone left out there that hasn't already been swooped up, or just given the state of the team, do you think it's even a need at this point?
I think the names that you care about are gone at this point. That actually could have a chance at getting a sniff of playoff minutes.
It was Danny Green or bust, pretty much.
Danny Green, right? I mean, Danny Green, Terrence Ross would have been interesting. But I don't think was ever going to come here because he needs playing time to get his next contract. And then, Will Barton's out there. I don't think he's going to come. I mean, I think all these, and then obviously all the guards and stuff. Love, I think probably Muscala is probably better than Love at this stage of his career in terms of definitely with the 3-point shooting. Yeah. Oh, and I also have, this is Winning Plays exclusive here on Muscala. And so you posted that clip of him getting the tech.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And it looked like he was going at the bench.
Right. It was at the ref, right?
It was at the ref. And so I asked him after the game about it, and he was like, yeah, no, that wasn't at the bench at all. He was like, I got nailed in the head. And if you watch a replay, Connaughton did get him really bad in the head on that play.
And I didn't notice it in the moment. And part of it was just I heard the TNT broadcast say, he's mugging at the bench. But then when you do go back and watch it, he says, Mark Davis, I think is the official, and he says, Mark, what the F? I'm like, in the head, and it's clear. But it's still, he became a legend in that moment. There was that tweet blew up because people were just like, he's got that dog in him.
Yeah, right.
I fully enjoyed people losing their mind over the Mike Muscala.
The legend will continue to grow. Yeah, so first career technical, not jawing at the bench, actually jawing at a pretty bad missed foul call, but still high entertainment there. All right, that's going to do it for us. Chris Forsberg, NBC Sports Boston. Enjoy the All-Star break.
Are you going to? I was going to say, are you going to get to enjoy the All-Star break? You're not going to be pumping out 50 articles.
I mean, people have to know about the Jason Tatum 3-point contest.
He's going to win it.
There'll still be a steady flow at Mass Live, but we'll be staggering our workloads between Suichi and myself, and I trust we'll have 8 posts for you in the next week from South Carolina.
That's impressive. I will not be posting any times. I do have a few things in the can that will post while I'm gone, but I will hopefully be on a golf course and not thinking about the Celtics for a few days.
I'm disappointed you're not meeting up with Danny Ainge in Utah, to be honest, but I guess.
You know what? That was actually the original plan, and then Danny is a busy man. He's already posting interviews last night, and so I will probably try to catch up with him a little further down the road.
All right, well, stay tuned for that. Make sure you check out the Celtics Talk Pod and Celtics Post Up, which should be up, I believe, from.
Go find it from last night. We ate cereal and we wore jean jackets like Mike Muscala. So go find it on your DVR.
I can't wait to that first interview with Muscala on the.
It's going to be electric. I've already put in my request. Wait, you just wait.
All right, stay tuned for that when we're back from the break. Make sure you're following Chris out there and rate, review, subscribe to Winning Plays Pod. We'll talk to you guys after the break.